associated with the British Council, and she's been getting a lot of awards. Consequently, I think she got the International School Award for 2 consecutive years. And then her school, Maria's Public School, way back in 2003, initiated the conservation education. We also have with us, welcome Nellie, she's here, I think, Nellie. Welcome Nellie Ahmed with us. We also have with us Jyotishman Dutta, who is the Managing Trustee of Downtown Charitable Charity Trust and Director of Downtown Hospitals Limited. It's the largest private university. They're not only into higher education, but they're also into skill development. So welcome, Jyotishman. We also have with us Vasavvi Acharjya BORA, who's into early child education. She's an early child educationist, involved in the space for more than 13 years. She has her own preschool, which is a tender Petals, and she's created a brand for herself where she's gone into franchising. And she's also the founder, co-chairperson of early childhood education. So why we have called these 3 panelists is to basically cover the entire gamut of education space, right from primary, pre-primary to secondary education to higher education, and also cover the skill space. So with this background, the way we would like to structure this webinar is that instead of try to make it more interesting, we've divided into certain questions, and each speaker will be answering those questions. And of course, the audience will get an opportunity to answer, to raise their queries, which will be at the end. So you can keep on, giving us all your queries that you have as the panel members start speaking. And at the end, once the question answer rounds are over, we will go get into the as many questions as possible. I'll try to forward it to the panelists. So that's the set. What we do is we have 3 rounds of questions. The first round, each speaker gets a time of 5 minutes each. The second round of questions, another 5 minutes each. And the third round, we will have 3 minutes each for each speaker. We try to have some takeaways from this webinar. We conclude, and if necessary, if there are certain specific takeaways in terms of interventions required from this webinar, we want to take it forward to the government, to our sponsoring agency, Northeastern Council, who's very keen to take forward initiatives which can enthuse entrepreneurs in terms of creating a facilitating environment for them. So the first round of question which we have would be, I'll be starting with the pre-primary and primary, then I'll go to secondary, and then I'll go to higher secondary. The first question which I would like to put across is, what is the current status, which is to Vasavvi Acharjya, what do you think is the current status of early child education, and what are the major challenges here? Over to you, Vasavvi.
A very good evening, and thank you, Sriparna, for the question. Is my video on? I'm trying to start my video, so I don't know whether the video is on or not. Well, coming to the, we have been almost 2 months in this lockdown, and the schools have closed down about, almost about March middle. So the schools have closed down around that time, and our children are homebound. Now, when we look at a preschool is basically a small unit in terms of, a small institution, which is a very one-to-one with parents and the children, because they are too small. We cater to children who are about 2 to 6 years of age, and this long haul of the close down of the preschools have kind of given us a lot of challenge in terms of putting across all the curriculum and syllabus and the stuff. So I would like to address our challenges in two points. One is our education challenges, and the second is the financial that we are facing, as entrepreneurs. So coming to the first challenge, like I already said, 2 to 6 years is a very young age group, and we know that there's a sudden shift to the online platform. So though we have shifted to the online platform, the children who are so young have a little difficulty in focusing. They are very hands-on, and they are all moving, and they are quite, they're mobile. So that way we have a little difficulty on conducting classes in that manner. So definitely we are trying our best, but it's been a little difficult. Second, generally when a parent, a young parent comes with a child to a preschool, they leave it on the preschool for the education part of it. This is the starting. So parents, some of the parents don't feel very confident about taking the role of an educator at home because these children are too young and they feel that they do not have the expertise. In such cases also, the parents are kind of, getting back to us, trying to understand how they need to take this forward, because we are giving them online classes and stuff, but parents have to be together. And so what is the best way to deal with that? So we are also trying to come up with that challenge of actually empowering parents to take up a role in a small way of educating their children, per se education. And coming to our finances, basically a preschool, again, like I said, is a small institution, and we work on the basis of the admissions, the fees and all of that, right? So all our payoffs like salary, rent of the premises, all of it happens from the admissions and the fees. Now with a sudden halt in the schools, I mean the entire lockdown, there are no admissions, there are no inquiries. The parents are not able to pay the fees on time. As a result, a lot of difficulty that the centers are facing, because I run a brand of preschools, and so many of our franchise are getting back to us, telling us that how would we operate, what is the way forward, and what should we do. So that, I think, is one of the challenges that we are facing. So basically this negative impact of the lockdown, besides, like Sriparna said, there are a lot of positives in terms of startups, in terms of new things that we can think about, right? So these are the main challenges I think that a preschool, as in a preschool, is facing at this point of time, right?
Okay, thank you, Vasavvi. But one more question which I would like to ask you is, while we are on this point, is you mentioned about students not being able to concentrate their way, primary, pre-primary stage, etc., keeping them sitting in a particular. Then you're talking about parents also. What about the teachers? Are they sort of aligned? Are there sort of problems even in getting teachers on board for getting into the digital mode, etc.? Are there challenges there? Are the schools?
Yes, to some extent, because our teachers were more, into the one-to-one teaching, which is, one-to-one contact teaching. So definitely, as grown-ups, they have kind of adapted themselves. But yes, we need a lot of empowerment in terms of, shifting ourselves from this, in terms of preparing modules, delivering them properly. Yes. That is also one challenge we need to address at this point of time.
Thank you so much, Vasavvi. So if we try to look at what Vasavvi has said, I see 2-3 opportunities here, for the startups, because basically we're looking at startups. We see that, how do we get more interesting modules for children to come and sit and try concentrate. We look at their curriculum, how we can make it more interesting. So that is one. Second would be even educating parents. How do we help parents to, get motivated? Some program for parents, so that, so it could be an opportunity again for organizing awareness programs for parents as to how they handle teachers, their students, etc. Because the entire thing is likely to be a long drawn process. And the third, which we see, is even for the teachers. And there's a huge challenge, I feel, even for challenge as well as an opportunity as to how we align. Suddenly you can't be expecting teachers to go on digital, and what is the support required even from the government in terms of providing infrastructure, etc. So these are the points even we are flagging down. Thank you so much, Vasavvi. We'll come to the second round of questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Next, I think Nellie has not been able to come on board. I would like to ask Jyotishman. Dutta, I would like you to cover both, because you're also in the secondary education as well as higher education, and possibly you cover both secondary and higher education, the same thing. What do you think is the present status, and what are the major challenges?
Good evening to everyone. I hope I'm being audible. Firstly, I would like to thank ma'am and the organization of IIE for conducting such a wonderful workshop. I'm aware that it was supposed to happen in an offline mode, but in the situation that is happening in an online mode is quite commendable, because I think many other meetings have been pending, but no one has had the foresight to actually shift it online. So that is quite a respectable move that we are actually trying to adapt with the current situation. Well, before I start anything and give a points about what the problems are being faced, I would like to say something very simple. At this point, we are all talking very negatively about COVID and the problems that it has all caused us. In a very funny way, I thought of a teacher when I had in my youth, a teacher who I actually thought I would never think about. I thought of my swimming teacher. Why? I think we all, when we went swimming, we had this incident when one fine day our swimming teacher said, let's just throw you into the pool. We had started to learn to swim. We had a swimming pool. We had some basic knowledge, but he wanted us to learn maybe faster, and he just threw us in the pool. I'm sure most of you must have had that incident. So COVID has kind of created a similar situation for us. We've had resources, online resources. We knew we need to adopt slowly to the digital world. This was going on, but maybe not at a fast pace. Now, when we're pushed into the pool, you kind of don't have a choice. You're struggling. You're learning to swim only to survive. So I think education institutes, like many other organizations, are in that phase today. If we adopt, we will survive. If we do not adopt, I don't think we'll have a future in the coming months and the coming years. So yes, most of the higher education institutes, we've had our softwares, we've had learning platforms, we've been talking about digital class, but somehow there has been a lot of, we're still stuck on the actual old way of teaching. A blackboard classroom is mandatory. That is something we still cannot understand, that we need to shift. The shifting was happening at a very slow pace, despite more or less having a lot of resources available for that. So now the challenge is suddenly, we also as a university had a plan in the next 24 months to adopt a lot of things on a phase-wise manner and shift even, say, assessment examinations online. The whole plan that was for the next 24 months is now going to happen in 2 months. So you can understand the kind of learning that is happening. It's not only that the IT team with our partners, how much of coding work that is happening is at one end. The learning that is happening. 6,000 students are now understanding or being forced in a way to learn what is online education. Everyone is on classes every day, delivering lectures, and they're trying to absorb as much as they can. So this has been a huge change. Yes, has it been a problem? Yes, there has been problem with bandwidth. Bandwidth had some problems. Some teachers are having difficulty converting their practical lessons into digital lessons. Yes, that has been a big problem. But with whatever resources you have, you're trying your best to actually cope up with this current situation. So the biggest challenge has been this rate of learning. The learning curve, as we say, has suddenly now changed. It is far more steep than even any one of us had ever planned it to be. So that has been the biggest challenge, I think, not only for a university, even schools. Most other kinds of higher education institutes are also facing that problem. There's been a lot of talk. A lot of students have been using, since the advent of Google and the internet has been so many, the amount of information that is there. I think no book in the world has that much information. So we were learning despite Google is what students say. Sir, what is there to teach despite everything being there in Google? That is a common phrase a lot of students have been using for the many, many years now. So now we have to learn with Google. Google has to become our main base. By Google, I don't literally mean Google. I mean the internet. I mean, that has become the main focus point around which education is surrounded. Now, previously in a classroom, teachers used to give notes and teach. Now the issue is there are so much resources available online. The teacher's role has become now different. He is more of a guide. He has to guide student despite his own notes and the university resources. He has to guide the student to take them to places. Say, for example, you want to learn a specific topic of civil engineering. There are thousands of articles, thousands of videos. He has to guide to the 5 best or 10 best. So the role of a teacher has suddenly now changed. So to guide to the best 5 or the best 10, now he has to go through thousands. So from my point of view, the teacher's work in a lot has changed, because for many, many years, they have been conventionally stuck to those 5 books, those 10 programs, and that has been the basis of the more or less the education that was provided. Now everything has changed. So this is the biggest change that we can see. Besides higher education, which is more or less in a better position to handle it, because luckily the students are adult, they're 18 plus. Most of them in most universities at least have an Android phone, if not a laptop or a tab. So at least the basic medium, basic maturity exists. So that way, higher education is in a much better position. Luckily, even UGC for the last few months have been harping on that every university in India needs to have an ERP, needs to have a learning management system by which all curriculum is delivered. So that had started even before this crisis. But obviously there was, as I mentioned before, the speed of accepting this new technologies has not been what it should have been. That has suddenly, now this COVID has become a catalyst. It's kind of supercharging this change. The second thing that we as an organization do that is the biggest challenge is skill development. In skill development, we have been handling students who are maybe 5 dropouts, class 5 dropouts, class 8 dropouts. So we are teaching them hard skills. Like, for example, we have a program, we are teaching nothing but just cooking. Chef, these guys will end up aiding chefs in kitchens. How do you deliver this online? This is a question that I can only pose a few questions like that. Yes, when it comes to some curriculum regarding recipes, we can give it to them. They don't even understand the basic, more or less internet is in bulk still in English. So we have to have more content, say in Assamese or Hindi, even Bengali or Boro, the languages say which is prevalent in Assam. Just an example of Assam. Every state would have that problem. All the content now to some extent have to be internally translated. We have to make videos also in these languages. If you have to reach out to that this is entirely different lot of students. We are teaching welding. I have no clue as of today. I'll tell you quite publicly, I don't know how to teach that online. I don't think anyone in India knows how to teach welding online. So exactly, with higher education, yes, there are challenges. We do not know how to teach experimentation online. There is no app, there is no software which will teach that. Coding, yes, virtual labs are there. We've always used them, but not to the extent that we're using it today. Do we need virtual labs for other things? Absolutely. How would be developed? At this point, as a user, I don't know. But as programmers, as people who are watching it, innovators, this is a huge opportunity. Things that we took it for granted, now we'll need virtual delivery. So this is a huge opportunity for that. So this is a huge shakeup on one kind of a spectrum, higher education, we're adopting it. On the other spectrum, skill education, except for a few programs, we are honestly lost at this point of time. There's no point admitting otherwise. I think most people providing skills would say the same thing.
Okay, thank you, Jyotishman. I can, so since we are also into skills, I could add on to some of the challenges. Even we are clueless as to how we are going to some of the skills. And then the most important thing, there are new set of skills which are in demand now.
Absolutely.
Yes, particularly in the health sector, telecom sector.
Absolutely.
So these are sectors, earlier most of the skill programs would have happened in the food processing, in the retail, etc. But now it would be more hands-on skilling which would be required. So what virtual reality? So
we'll have to explore that. Yeah, true.
Yeah, we'll have to explore that. So how do we go about skilling and even the content? Because I think skill is one area where it's a very less understood area as far as startups are concerned. So never, right, education is much defined. Skill is not so defined, and many people have not taken interest in skill. But what I think is that skill has a lot of opportunity.
Yes.
Right. So this is something I think. I think Nellie has not been able to log in for some. This is some issue with her. So yeah, connection issue with her. She's not based. I don't know. There's some problem with her. So maybe we give speakers more time in her absence. So I go to the next round of question, as is what specifically I had from your observation. I did mention about some opportunities which are there, but as you as a sort of a entrepreneur in this field, I'll go first to Vasavvi. What are the specific opportunities based on your needs that you see for startups?
Well, yes. So we have heard about, basically the problems that we are facing. This is a sudden change, paradigm shift, I must say. Looking into the early childhood years and crowd we cater to the need base that is there for our children, I feel that like you already mentioned, the educator empowerment program, like, some online programs may be developed, online educator empowerment program, which we generally call it a teacher training, or something that is aligned to, the teachers getting more online, more proactive in teaching in this medium. So some startups can come up with these kind of teacher training programs. Also, I feel there is a huge need of parent empowerment. So I have been in touch with a company in UK, and they do a lot of parent support, not as in parent taking up as an educator, but generally reinforcing the child at home. So I think there is a lot of scope in the parent empowerment modules that can be designed, and these can be put up in such a way that, you know, one module is, say, free, and if somebody wants to get into it more, they can just pay and you know, subscribe, pay into it, and get the entire thing. So even a parent support module can be designed. Also, we are looking at certain curriculum in terms of, you know, different preschool modules, because there are a lot of schools who do not have the expertise to develop such kind of things. So they will be needing a lot of help from startups who are working on these lines to help them with modules, small modules regarding the different classes they deal in, the kindergarten, say, or whatever. So these, there can be some curriculum modules developed. And I would also want to say, like, we are using these online platforms like Zoom. Now, when we say about online platform and the teacher interaction, online classes and all of that, probably we can also think about a platform which is a homegrown one, which is from the Northeast probably, which we can avail and use, you know, that platform, and probably spend our money in the homegrown platform. So that is also, that has got a huge scope. That is what I feel like. And yes, these small modules can be prepared by startups, and they can, you know, start circulating and selling these on different platforms, digital, can really help parents and educators and even students to a great extent. Yes.
Vasavvi, one more question which I had. What happens to the people in the rural areas? And what about in the primary, pre-primary level? What about teachers, parents who are not educated? Because I just had an experience recently. You know, one driver's son who goes to an English medium school. He came back, all the homework was given to him on WhatsApp. So neither the father understands that. So he had to take help from someone to fill up the answers. Again, give it through WhatsApp. And then neither the child was understanding, nor the father was understanding. So what happens to challenges like this? And that is one. And secondly, what happens in rural areas where the connectivity is very poor? What happens in such places? What could be the sum of the? Of course, you don't have an answer.
See, for the rural,
yeah,
we really don't have an answer for this, because some days back, one of my friends who is into who was working with the Tatas, and they thought Tata Amalgamated has got a lot of support schools. So they were all worried about how to get the children. You know, basically those are children of the tea laborers. How to get them into the system of online education. So the first thing, like, they were asking for some kind of, you know, ideas and stuff. But what I could think of right now, because there is no one-to-one interaction, children cannot do one place, teachers cannot do the school. So I think first of all we have to get that setup in place. You know, the internet connection. And secondly, for parents who do not understand, like Jyotishman has mentioned, we have to translate into one. We have to be more, you know, really translate stuff and get to them and understand what is the best way of reaching out to this level of students, I feel. And even because there is no way out now, the teachers can't come, so we have to look at an online thing. And this online support system, if they can put it in their tea gardens or in whatever schools, if government is helping, if the state government is actually taking an initiative to put up this system in place, probably translated materials can be given to parents, and they can avail the facilities, and the students as well. That is what I can think of as of now, you know, the situation.
so can we say that all startups, edutech startups who are here, can they look at this? Anyone who's interested, maybe they could get in touch with Vasavvi, understand, not necessarily Vasavvi, anyone who's in the early childhood education space could get in touch with them, understand their problems better, and identify problems. Because as we say, every business starts with trying to solve a problem. So here we are putting across a lot of problems right now at the pre-primary, primary education level. So what could be some of the solutions? Is a thing, is a you're throwing open some basically problems across, so you can think about solutions coming in. And I would be more than happy for any startup coming in, trying to ideate to the be the facilitator between understanding what knowledge gaps are there and what answers can come into wherever the gaps are. Thank you, Vasavvi. We'll come to the third round later.
Right.
I think, has Nellie been able to log in? No. No. Okay, we go to Jyotishman again. Again, the same question. What do you specifically see as your problems, and which you would like to put it across as opportunities for the startups?
Now, honestly, to say, there's a huge wish list. As we are shifting entirely to a digital platform from the point of view of connecting to student, to delivering, to actually them passing out, to taking jobs, it's a huge entire life cycle. A life cycle of 6,000 students in a university. To that, if you add all the students of Northeast, you will get maybe 1 million students who more or less have to adopt to this new lifestyle. A new life cycle, in fact, of education. And that would throw forward a lot of opportunities. In a very simple way, if I little bit of digressing, there was a point when we used to, whenever join school, whenever we used to join college, the first thing we did was buy the important textbooks. So now the time has changed. The first thing you need to buy is not the textbook, is to buy a tab or a laptop. I can understand for some students it's still not entirely feasible in terms of financially. Government has always been giving bicycles, has been giving something or the other as gifts to students or in some scheme. Maybe the schemes need to change now. It is not anymore desirable to have a learning platform which is digital in terms, meaning a tab. It is almost essential. So I think the government also there will adopt, and if meaning that kind of adoption happens, that also throws forward a huge opportunity first only for the hardware. Today, if you want to buy even 1,000 tabs in Guwahati, you will not get a vendor who will even supply you that much. So that is a small opportunity in terms of even the hardware. Can such assembling be done? Can you get hardwares and with maybe tie up with a telecom operator? And for example, a university program is for 3 years. I just need a tab that works for 3 years, essentially, minimum with internet. So these are small requirements that I have. I'm sure every school, every college would have their own requirement. That is the hardware requirement. And government also will make these changes because they will also understand in the next few months, they'll have to make these changes. So there a huge requirement and a huge industry will be needed. So it is up to us to decide whether we'll keep importing and keep getting these things from say Delhi or Bangalore, whether we can also here see that if we can cater to that. There are a lot of companies who are doing it, but I still think there's a huge dearth of local companies. Second most important point is that, say, I'll only talk about higher education here. Now, the whole point is during this season, you must have all seen, like last year in the month of May, Assam Tribune Pvt.Ltd was filled only with advertisements of universities. There's just 2 months, practically the only advertisements given are education institutions. Now there is nothing. Suddenly, we know that papers are not circulating as much as they are. So the entire ad has shifted digitally. It's not that advertisements are not going, but digital ads are actually more directed. They are more directed at exactly the kind of segment you want to touch. Now we need digital marketeers. We need experts who can actually guide us. Is there a dirt? Absolutely, there's a dirt. What is the startup cost of a digital marketing firm? Nothing. It just needs expertise and knowledge. But I still think there's a huge dirt here locally who can guide. It can come from any point. Now there are students sitting in Zero Arunachal. They are also trying to connect. Normally they would have taken a car and driven down to Guwahati to see the campus. Now I have to show the campus virtually. Now I have to teach them, talk to them maybe over a WhatsApp call or a Zoom call, do the whole counseling online. So this has changed. Now where do we need support? Yes. Now we need to create, say, a virtual tour of the university. Do we get support in Guwahati? Yes, we do. How many options are there? Maybe 2 or 3, but I would like to have 10 options. So this is a sudden change that has happened, and Guwahati, and I hope there are a lot of IT entrepreneurs here who can actually cater to this. If they have the knowledge, even if they don't have the knowledge, they can, I think, in the next few weeks, make it a target to gather this knowledge to cater to this demand. This is a huge demand. We are talking about crores and crores of money that has just diverted from the mainstream medium to digital medium. Another big problem is going to be like, that is okay with the admission part. After admission, we come to delivery. We always talk about online content. Byju's has been a buzzword. Next education buzzword. There is a lot of online content when it comes to schools. Where is online content for higher education? There's hardly any existing. Now you want to teach civil engineering. You want, besides what is available in the open source, you want animated videos. You want great content, maybe in TypeScript or Byju's teaching. There's hardly any content. Somehow higher education has never been the focus of these digital firms or these edutech companies. They've always focused on schools, obviously, because it's the largest share. That is the largest client they have. Now, suddenly a lot of clients are there in higher education because they will need to adopt. You can either do it yourself or you can buy it from a third party. The question of the third party is always beneficial. If you only have expertise in civil engineering, I have demand for say only 200 licenses. But if you have expertise only in engineering, maybe in Guwahati, you will have a demand of 10,000. So it will always be easier for us to outsource because developing for 200 will never be viable for us. We need content. And when I say we, I'm talking the industry nationally needs content. And it doesn't matter where the content comes from. We are willing to buy from a Gujarat company. I'm sure Gujarat company is willing to buy from an Assamese company. It doesn't matter as long as the content is good. Another aspect is training. Yes, students are learning it. The biggest problem is, do we know how to use an ERP? In principle, we do. Do the teachers now know for 10 years, 20 years, they have notes in a register, which yes, you can convert into PDF, you can convert into Word, but it will never have the same essence that the teacher has when he's teaching in class. Now you need to convert it. If you need to convert it, there has to be some aids besides the written text, maybe animation, maybe graphics. We need animators. We need graphic designers who will help us with the content. That has become very, very important. So more than large companies, I think there's a lot of demand for freelancers. If there are a lot of local freelancers who have the quality, who can deliver, I think besides us, most institutions and universities or organizations would like to work with them to just upgrade their existing content. Because now content given digitally was support content like 2 years ago. It was only to support what was already given in class. Now that is the only content. So obviously the quality enhancement has to be much greater than was even planned. These are the basic things I have for labs we need. As you ma'am spoke about VR, when we talk about skills, VR is the first thing we thought about. And we've already reached out to two companies. Even in India today, VR in terms of skills is not much developed. But in Europe, there are already companies who are doing it. At least a lot of this basic delivery is already happening in VR. I don't know the cost of developing the VR software. I don't know what kind of modules are required or what kind of investment is required, but that would be extremely desirable. But again, having said that, it's too nascent a stage as an industry today in India to say that in next 2 months, 3 months, we'll have all the content that is necessary. But without VR, teaching lab work, teaching skills is out of the question. Is out of the question. So we can understand the desperation as organizations like us, and even I think I would agree, we would jump on content like that because we cannot function. Forget not functioning. In higher education, we are not functioning at 100%. Skills, we are shut down. There's nothing we can do. So we can understand the handicap that we have, and we don't see us being able to do anything because we just don't know what to do. So we would need this kind of delivery. That is very, very, very important. Now, syllabus will entirely change. What is available in the internet now need not be in the syllabus. There can be support syllabus. So a lot of work would be needed. A lot of churning is going to happen. So that would create a lot of opportunities. So it would be great to see a lot of local entrepreneurs, even at individual basis. Here we need expertise. We do not need a huge company with infrastructure. We would need you to aid. Teachers are great at what they do, but they are not great at making content. That is not what they have learned. Can you teach us? How many workshops can you conduct and convert a Word document into an A-grade digital content? That is a huge requirement. Training itself. So how many are willing to come forward for training? Another thing, and as I mentioned already in the first phase, UGC has already directed almost for the last couple of months that we need to move digitally. Learning management softwares in ERP are going to become must. A university like Downtown, we had adopted it 2 years ago for whatever reasons. But now it's going to become must. Even a college like a Borpeta College or a Patsala College slowly will be adopting it. It's a question of few months. Sadly, such tenders are already coming out. Say a tender came out from Guwahati University a couple of months ago. They needed consulting to develop their software. Sadly, very few, or I won't be surprised if no local company is even eligible to apply for that. So it's not that opportunities are available in Northeast. These are Northeast, so-called the money is from here. The organization is from here, but due to lack of expertise, eligibility, or paperwork, or whatever may be the reason, that chance is lost. So I would request entrepreneurs to keep following that up and always aspire to at least be eligible in a couple of months or a couple of years to be eligible, to try and get these work. There's going to be hundreds of them. This is just the beginning. I'm not talking the private sector. I'm just government sector. There's going to be hundreds of them all across the region. So that every institution, every college, even a junior college or a higher education college or research institute would need this. So it's important that these companies come up. So these are the basic things I have in a wish list. The list will go on and on and on. There is no limit at the right now how much I can say.
So I think, thank you, Jyotishman, for that. I think this is in the midst of all the all the problems that we are all the time talking about. Here is a wish list which is not finishing, and look at the range of opportunities which are there for IT startups, edutech startups. So it's basically a question of understanding the space more better. And what you have just highlighted, that many of them are not eligible for certain tenders. This is where your startup should start collaborating with each other, and then try to grab it. That's the point at this moment. That is what the issue should be, that let's collaborate. We are ready to facilitate any sort of, and we could also work on behalf of them to put up to the government that these are give, because even the government is looking for ideas. They're looking for ways in which they can the entrepreneurs. So, but then entrepreneur has to know what they want. They have to be very specific, and we also have to know where exactly are the opportunities there. So here, I think, thank you very much. I'm sure whoever is here, we'll also spread this across. Nellie has just joined. We will I see a lot of startups here, and I'm sure they have at least understood. There's a tip in the iceberg, maybe whatever little they have understood here, but I'm sure they're going to dwell deeper into this and see what opportunities they can see. So we would like to look at more and more of opportunities rather than challenges. We look at challenges definitely, but even in the rural space, how do we get into that, etc. Now, since Nellie has joined just now, Nellie, we've already done the rise
I know.
of.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't log in. There was a problem with that.
Okay.
So anyway.
So, yeah, Nellie, can you quickly give your comments on both the questions? One is, what do you see? Where's the present status of education? What are the major challenges that you see? And also in this context of challenges, what are the opportunities you think are there for entrepreneurs, startups in the education space?
Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me here, and a very good afternoon to all of you. And my apologies for not being there on time. And these are technical glitches. I think we all have to accept it, in spite of being India, being the digital world. But however, with the questions, I think already the time slot has gone by. So how many minutes can you give me here? As far as the...
you can take 5 minutes time. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what's wrong with this, but it suddenly goes off. So as far as we are going to say is the 21st century education is transforming rapidly, and it's spreading seamlessly across the globe. It has become essential that children get to learn and attain knowledge irrespective of them being present in attending a classroom. This wave of change makes study from home a very vital point in the arena of education. Of course, this disaster just came by and we didn't know how it got us. However, this brings us to an enlightened and accelerated shift towards digitalization, away from the traditional classrooms, which will ensure the virtual learning, which becomes the norm, it's going forward. And the ability to adapt to the shift is what will help the student community as a whole. The situation might be full of confusion now. We must look at all the silver lining in every situation. The current educational scenario will also make the curriculum far more relevant to the present needs of the new normal. And the new normal is what we have to accept now. During this lockdown period, we were here to stay, and we had to take this normal, the new normal, as a scenario that we all have to adapt and change to. The schools are operating virtually through digital learning modules, which means learning has not stopped, thereby accelerating the shift to virtual learning and new age skills. The schools will need to design strategies to march forward in times where the COVID-19 and recession are playing musical chairs. In these difficult times, we, the teachers, have braved the situation. And my teachers and principal, they have started the online classes from the date of 6th of April, leaving the weekends. 30 to 40 minutes of classes were being done for students of higher classes per week, and including the co-curricular. The challenges faced were tall and large, and which still exists. But the adaptability and coherence to change is being faced by one and all of all schools across the globe. Now, the challenges that we face in schools, particularly when you say middle school and high school, I would say social distancing is a major challenge. Co-curricular activities are deprived for the children, whereas sports and dance classes, theater workshops, which they're used to, have all been curtailed. But nonetheless, the students are taking the change very bravely, that this is the new normal. Classroom discipline, teacher contact, peer distancing are all these tall challenges. We need to recalibrate ourselves along with our students. The new normal is digital all the way. So how do we keep teaching our kids, keeping the sync and pace with the need of the hour teaching? So the answer might be surprising. The need is to expand the current notion of twining programs in the school's existing curriculum. When I say twining programs means we should have interdisciplinary subjects together to contain many practical courses in one subject matter, where children are not burdened with too many chapters which are redundant after school. And that is where the new curricula should be based on. Yes, we have arrived at the digital world. The new normal, the new change, the new adaptations are here to stay. And that is the paradigm shift. To redefine education, delivery on the existing COVID-19 challenges, in schools across India, more focus and attention to be given to conceptual learning, skill-based learning, experiential learning, which many schools across India and across the globe may be already doing, perhaps, but the large mass of schools in India may not be doing so. The policymakers are working extensively to reform the education system, but with the new normal, changes must be accepted and adapt accordingly. The evaluation system is mark-centric. Hence, the virtual teaching loses its concept teaching to aiming at the scores of the questions put. But even that is managed at this current period of time to cope with the curriculum and syllabus that exists now. We need to make future-ready schools. We need to make the future-ready schools and make the necessary changes where required. And we will have to. Emphasis also must be for the humanistic values, social and moral ethics, with a big push to civic sense for our students. And I would say that during these months, our students, our teachers have taken the change very well. And this, we are really in fear that how long will this carry on? Will this go on forever? Are we going to make the changes? And who is going to make the changes? Nobody but us. We will have to make the changes, redefine, redesign our curriculum, fit the needs and interests of the children, make education, learning more fun, interesting, and which they can relate to. And also, there should be practical labs, laboratories in schools where students are given the opportunity to do hands-on activities, say from carpentry to incubation center for entrepreneurship, design labs, then the design and technology labs. These are just a tip in the iceberg, which I would at least say that I would like these changes to come about in the new school age, the new paradigm shift that is going to come about. And skilling is definitely the answer. I think I'm over Sriparna.
Thank you.
Secondary screen con blank.
Oh.
Join in. So that's very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Who? So
So I now coming to the third round, very quick question, the final round of quick question that I had was, you know, every one of you have taken some strategy as to how you have coped. We have all taken some strategy, right, in terms of coping with this sudden disruption that has happened. So what is it? What is the strategy that you've adopted individually? I'm going to ask each of you, particularly in the context of digital infrastructure availability, non-availability in your institution. Then teacher mindset. How have you dealt with teacher mindset? Have teachers automatically come to what is desired? Has there been challenges in enabling teachers to come into the digital platform? What has been their ability to adapt? Because it's suddenly, just as the challenges are there for the students, there are also challenges in terms of your own institutions.
Yes.
In terms of teachers' mindset, would they, in terms of etc. So how have you coped? What has been the strategy? I'll first come to Jyotishman, I'll go to Vasavvi, and then I'll come to Nellie. Thank you. Yeah, Jyotishman, please.
I think I already mentioned it in the first part that the biggest challenge has been meant to condense the learning curve in 2 months from 2 years. Luckily for us, I cannot tell you in hindsight what was the reason. We had adopted a lot of digital platforms. We had developed a learning management software almost 2-3 years ago. We had even given assessment. Some sessional assessments are also happening online. They have been happening for many, many months. Luckily, when this situation happened, it was not in terms of infrastructure, we were not caught off guard, luckily. But yes, we had only developed everything in some kind of an experimental or beta versions. We are just increasing the usage. So in some ways, we have been lucky. To some ways, our students and our faculty are already exposed to this entire digital academic life cycle. But yes, now within 2 months, they have realized that they have to do everything online. So that has been a big challenge. Yes, some faculties have a lot of issues because they may be experts in their field, maybe in biotechnology, biochemistry, zoology, doesn't matter. I understand that. But they had some handicap with regard to the digital world, which is fair because it's not that it was not so important like a couple of months ago or even years ago. So it was accepted because you could be a great teacher in a classroom and hence it compensated for your lack of giving great quality notes, which was fine. Now that is a problem. So now those teachers have to adopt. We are trying our best to do training sessions for them. Again, training sessions are online. That's the funny part of the situation. So training session is must. They have to learn. It's not that I'm not saying anything against their quality or how good or bad teachers they were. They were excellent, but now the medium has changed. They don't have the, what do I say? They're not fortunate enough to have a classroom with them anymore. So they have to teach in this medium. All that shows is only this much, which has a huge, that creates a lot of restrictions. So that, I think the biggest challenge for us is the teachers and the students. Some are claiming they're very happy, but the fact is now we do not know what the students are doing in many ways. So that is going to be the biggest challenge. We're doing assessment online. Yes, slowly you have to have more checks and balances so that you know these assessments are actually done by them. So assessment is going to change drastically from what was happening. It would change how the system, academic records of a university. Now the topper may not be a topper, maybe a student who was mediocre may be a topper because the questions, concept of questions from an 8 mark is all going to become MCQ in the next few weeks. So it changes everything. So that is something, again, we're waiting to see. So students have to be very prepared. Preparing for the old exam, preparing for an MCQ based online exam is entirely different. You have to either know it or you don't know it. You cannot, like for a 7-mark question, you write an essay, okay, you get 1-2 marks. There is no clarity in terms of how much marks you get. So you kind of made it through. With an MCQ, you cannot make it through. Either you're through or you're not. So these are huge challenges students will face, huge challenges our faculties are facing. We are just going to increase training. That's the only option we have in the next few weeks. Training, and let them learn, let them make mistakes so that we are in a better state in the next few weeks.
Thank you, Jyotishman. I go to Vasavvi now.
Yes, coming to our spectrum, which is again the preschool where we have very small children. Now we have to try to, because our teachers need a lot of soft skills when they deal with children. And it is, you know, this one-to-one relationship, which is very important in our schools and our setup. So we are looking at a digital platform, and we are trying to translate soft skills into this online platform with the collaboration of parents, because parents need to be there, the teachers need to be on the other side, and they need to work in collaboration to get these children in the guide them in the right direction. So we are doing that. Again, the training part comes. So yes, initially our teachers had problems because they were never used to this kind of a setup. So we kind of trained them almost the whole month of April. The things were going out from our head office so that the teachers got a good idea of how to go about it, how to make their own modules and stuff. So yes, the training has to carry on. From the parents, I think we got a very good feedback because parents are happy that we are able to engage the children in the right way. And the children are also getting enthusiastic about their morning lessons that would come up, on the phones. And we try to also, give them exercises and dance and music. So there is no complaint as of now. In fact, there is a very good response. And I think this is going to be the new normal, like Nellie already said. So we have to adapt, we have to be flexible. And here I would say, this is one of my favorite quotes. It's not the most powerful or the intelligent that survive. It is the most flexible. So we have to be flexible, we have to be adaptable, and our children are going to learn in the same way. And they're going to grow up to be, kind of more flexible in the future, right? Yes.
Yes, I now go to Nellie, the last question now. What is the strategy?
Okay.
And what
Well, I think I should agree with both of them. Teacher training is definitely a must, but as you had asked, when this digital and the virtual classroom came about, we were all in a bit of shock. Not that we were not exposed, teachers are exposed, our children are exposed, because we often do Zoom, Skype, and with various, we have partner countries where children Skype with us, children, and so they used to it. But suddenly to handle 40 children and then to do the digital classroom on virtual platform was not easy at the moment for them at that time. But later on, they got used to it, and they are so enthusiastic that we get a feedback from students, from teachers, and from parents. And they say this is the best way, that we understand the teacher better because they see the teacher explaining on screen rather than coming into classrooms and watching them teach. So that is one thing good happening. For the middle school, that is really good. But for the high school, they do need a connect with the teacher to come to classrooms, especially for the science stream when they have to do the laboratory tests and all. But however, I think the tools need to be upgraded. Like I have mentioned before, the tools in the internet connectivity has to be, the bandwidth should be more for the Northeast. We are often failing in that area. Otherwise, we could have reached somewhere else. But however, I'm not going to talk too much about it. But teacher training, definitely, parents are happy, children are very happy. But when they have doubts, they send a message to teachers and they immediately get back. And we've recorded videos of children who have concerns, they share. Teachers who have concerns who share. But you'll be surprised, Sriparna, I think this is one of the best ways. Teachers have become more passionate about their subjects. They've become innovative and they've become very creative in their own ways in dealing with the subject matter. And this is the new teacher material that I've been seeing. Whereas when they come into the traditional classrooms, they are the usual with the textbook talk and chalk. Well, but with the digital classroom, they've gone on to a different level. And I think they're taking the change very well. I'm very happy with my teachers. It's not just high school, middle school, it's the primary as well as the pre-primary. So I think we have to live with this change. We will have to adapt to it. And slowly we'll have to get our students used to this, because they are the ones who have full of confusion, they have fear, they don't know what's the future. But however, we are giving them the enlightenment and making them feel positive and happy at all times. So we include a lot of music and dance while the teaching is finished, and those classes go on too. So I think that's a great way to collaborating with our students, parents, and the school. And lastly, I would like to leave a message from Dalai Lama. When educating the minds of our youth, you must not forget to educate their hearts. And that is a saying from Dalai Lama, and I truly believe it.
Thank you so much, Nellie. A big thank you to all the panelists for giving your views on a very pertinent and most disrupted sector, one of the most disrupted sector, recent disruption that has happened in the education and skill space. There are two questions which I leave it open, anyone would like to answer. One is possibly this Vasavvi would be able to answer better. What some startups have asked, that what could be the opportunity in the daycare segment, the daycare institutions, preschools for entrepreneurs. So that is one. The second question, again, since there are two major questions here. Second question is about the, of course, some of you have already spoken about it, challenges in terms of infrastructure, digital infrastructure availability, and what needs to be done for that.
Right. So taking the question of the daycare, we also run a few daycares in our tender petal schools. See, daycare basically caters to parents who are working, and the children go and stay in the daycare. So now even our daycares, which have been working in different areas, in different schools, are on a hold, because how can the parents come and leave the children there? And the second thing is online daycare facility in terms of keeping the children engaged with something or the other may be possible. But then, that facility per se, that there is an educator with the child, or there is somebody, a nanny to take care of the child, which happens in the daycare, creches and all of that, may not be there. So what we can do, there is not a huge scope in daycare, facilities as of now, because parents want that hands-on, thing. The parents don't want activity worksheets. Parents don't want the other things. They want that the child should be taken care of. Now, how can the child be taken care of until and unless there is a house help or somebody who is looking into the child, looking into the needs of the child? So that way, I don't see a specific startup opportunity in those ways. But yes, some modules can be prepared to keep children engaged, but there again, the parents have to ensure that somebody who is responsible is there with the child, probably the grandparents or somebody at home. So, something can be given to them so that the children stay engaged, a food routine, XYZ when the parents are working, probably. And also one more thing can come up, the big cities like Bangalore and all, they have a daycare space in offices. Now, I don't know how that is going to work for, Northeast, but if our offices can accommodate daycare spaces, then probably, there can be tie-ups with some people, who are ready to give these facilities in those offices. So I have seen that as a very big opportunity, because in Bangalore and all, the IT offices have a sector, they have a place for daycare facilities. So that if is developed, I think there's a huge opportunity in that sector, but not as in, getting to the child at home, but probably in the office. I think that can be worked upon, yes.
I think Vasavvi, just to add on to this, the possibility of everyone is talking about working from home now, and that's going to be again a new normal, at least maybe for the next 6 months, 8 months, many big companies. So can there be more opportunities for creating audio visuals, etc., for engagement?
Yes. Yes, that I had, that I had already said. There are
Yeah.
modules and all that can be created. There can be a, proper timetable laid out for the child, for the structured learning and stuff. So that can be done. But again, the parent has to be hands-on, because that has to be, delivered. We are going to deliver the content, but how is the content going to be delivered? So either there has to be a grandparent, the parent, or a nanny looking after the child. So they have to take it forward, because for daycares, usually the children are very young, too small. So that is there. Right.
Could there be also for the startups, just a question that, they start coming up with some safety devices or
Right.
some indication as to what the child is doing, because parents are constantly worried about, even if they're working, even at home, where are they, some indicators, etc. So possibly these can come up as, already there are things which have come up looking at child's safety, but then there is a possibility right now.
There are more possibilities now, because now it is mandatory that schools have their CCTV cameras and all. Everything is recorded, and now probably for surveillance, a lot of other things can be done. There are more opportunities coming up. So yes, even that can be a good opportunity for a startup. Yes. And the second question, I think there was one. I think.
With the infrastructure, I think that's for all. And there's a specific question for Jyotishman, Dutta. That is, firstly, for your positive views, people are very happy with your positive views that you've expressed. But the question is, what are the major difficulties being faced on the current digital system that's being used? I think you've already mentioned, but then maybe quick highlights.
Simple points. We need content to be delivered in low bandwidth. That is one issue. We need more content to be delivered on the phone. We have content. We have teachers who have content. We need help to convert it to make it look interesting. I've mentioned it again and again. Need not be a company. You think you're creative. You think you're a great designer, you're a great animator. I'll give you the most simple looking boring notes of civil engineering, which when delivered in class is interesting. But when you read on your own, it is not interesting. That's it. A simple thing you may see, but if you need to do that to hundreds and hundreds of pages of notes, that's a lot of tedious work. And teachers are not trained to actually do that, which is fair enough, obviously, because that's what that is a huge requirement that we have. And again, everything has to be condensed in low bandwidth so that it's delivered in bulk. One requirement, digital marketing, huge requirement. And the whole digital interface of a university life cycle. Just sit down. We need to even do placements online this year. How do you do placements online? We're trying to figure out mechanisms for that. All advice, all suggestions, all companies to support it on a revenue sharing basis. We are always welcome. This is the crux. Obviously, there's too much to say. I can only give you a very small gist.
Yeah, in the school, are there any there's another question. In schools, are there any? What are the basic opportunities? Quick to Nellie. What are the from the schools? In the schools, what are the opportunities for startups in the middle and high school?
Startups as for others to do something, or for the students?
Yes.
What problems you're having in your school, middle level, high school, which can be taken up as opportunities by startups?
Yeah, actually, we need labs, which is the design lab, which I said to encourage the design and animation, which has been discussed already. And I would put this to the government also to put in the rural schools as well, because it's the urban.
Virtual. Now, right now, it has to be virtual, not physical labs, right? Is that what you're talking about? You're talking about virtual.
Yeah, virtual. There's I think Jyotishman has already mentioned about the design marketing.
Advice and suggestion for my.
So there can be.
Okay. Any suggestion from your end that this is what we want?
Yeah, I think from the middle school, we need an incubation center, maybe for the entrepreneurship, the skilling center. There could be carpentry, there could be art and design, and all this can be done online. Even concerts can be held, singing, dance, art, culture, history linked with history is the dance forms. The various opportunities. One has to be creative, which Jyotishman has already said. One has to be creative and think, and the world is open to all.
I think Nellie is trying to harp again and again on the extracurricular, which I think her school focuses a lot. So there, they look at how to give virtually try to provide entertainment through the virtual space. enabling, facilitating students to get involved in extracurricular activities, right?
One more thing.
Can I get 2 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
65% of our literacy rate has gone up. Education has really shone up for the Northeast and Assam. But at the same time, the employability scale has gone down because the people are getting unemployable. And what do we do about that? So then we need the skills. Therefore, the skills are important in the Northeast, where the mindset has to change right from the beginning. And how is the beginning and where is the beginning? That's in the middle school level when it can be taken up, where children are interested in doing and where children are engaged and they're happy and enjoying school and not burdened with studies only.
I agree with ma'am. School is the foundation. By the time they come to university, the foundation is built. We can only work around. Nothing much.
Exactly. So everything needs to be done from the middle school level. And the curriculum needs to be revamped a little, put many subjects together, and a syllabus can be cut down region-wise, I would say. Like in some of the textbooks, you know, there's hardly any dance forms or artwork of the Northeast, where it is filled more with other states. So I would suggest that, you know, a very keen look into the textbooks is important for what our Assamese students will be using or our regional students will be using, because NCERT does good job, yes, but they need to do a little thorough job on the Northeast.
Ma'am, I had something to say not related to the topic.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is something else actually not exactly related to this. We also run an incubation center, and for the last couple of years have been working with a few companies. We're self-funded, so it's not that we reach out to all. I don't know exactly how many students are here, how many people who have done startups are here, but a very simple takeaways I had, irrespective of what kind of startups you have. We've had a lot of students come to us and they said they're very good at designing. They had started a lot of websites, but they have no documents to prove it. So as a startup, I would ask, even if your client is your mama, your khura, doesn't matter, try to keep a work order or documentation what you've done. Try to take the money in an account that you've created for your startup. A lot of people have started these small companies and some CA has advised to them, you need to pay less taxes, so have 4 companies. Excellent. You have actually saved yourself few thousand taxes, but going forward 5 years, 10 years, you do not have one entity which has a great turnover. So tomorrow, a larger organization, when they want to give you work or a government wants to give you work, they will ask for papers. I have been saying this many times. All startups, please ensure that you have papers. You do not have paper of what you've done. You have no paper of what much you have earned. In 3 years, 5 years time, you're going to regret it. Do not bother about the laziness. Don't just give in to the laziness of not maintaining paperwork. Don't bother about saving this few thousand rupees of taxes. You're going to pay a very heavy price in a couple of years. That is a small advice that we have seen with many startups. They have talent. They just cannot prove their talent. Without proving your talent on paper, it will not count when you want the bigger work. That's a small thing I would like to say. And yes, I don't know if there are any students. A lot of students keep saying that why not? It's very difficult when there's a job just paying me 30,000. How do I choose? Given to my passion. Look at it this way. This year jobs will not be there. You're thinking, how am I laughing at that? But now you have a choice. You don't have a choice. If you're passionate about the business, this is also a great opportunity. You will not have a family pressure of joining a job. You will not have peer pressure about joining a job. So you can take those 6 months, 1 year additional time. Yes, search for a job, but also look into the passion. That temptation will not be there this year. It's in a way very bad of me to say that, but also it is also an opportunity. It's just up to you how you want to see that. So this year we've been telling our students, you want to follow your passion. This is the best opportunity to follow a passion. Placements are gone for the next 6 months or delayed. I'm not saying they're gone. Hiring would not come up until the whole lockdown is there. So these few weeks, concentrate on your passion. You have the time, just give it time. So that is a small advice I would like to give. 6 months, 1 year, you have the time, follow your passion.
Fully agree with you, Jyotishman, because I keep saying the same thing. You know, this is a time you're getting to think out of box, ideate. Whenever we have problems, we also have opportunities. I would always look at that. You know, look at problems as opportunities.
No parental pressure, no pressure to join a job. They give into pressure. I understand that. There's no pressure. Just tell your parents there are no jobs. Great, you're lucky.
And it's also a time because, you know, the space, we look at sectors which has opportunities. And amongst various sectors which has opportunities, education, skill has a lot of opportunity. Little understood, especially the skill space. Just now, Jyotishman, when he was mentioning, look at the skill space. Even we can vouch for that. Amount of opportunities which are there in the skill space is, you know, unimaginable. Just take up one sector, look at and the type of skillings which can happen in that particular sector. So there is space in skilling for in different sectors for different startups to come in. There's a scope for collaboration and starting something new. Someone with a which are the sectors which require virtual reality, which is where exactly what technology is required, who has the expertise in which technology, can we collaborate, come and give a solution. So that those are things which we can start thinking. There's one last question. I think we're not very sure what is the remote van, that the possibility of remote vans reaching rural areas for training teachers, parents and kids.
Not as of now. I think that's about the vans and all that would, you know, carry take teachers and probably train them. But it is not possible as of now. And if the lockdown intensifies, it won't be possible all the more. So depending on how the situation, you know, shapes up, probably, you know, if there's a relaxation, if things get better, they can be taken, you know, some, I think, you know, some can go and train these teachers and all for post-COVID times where probably again a situation might come in, so they can be empowered around that time. And one more question was asked, probably what are the skills that students need at this time, at the post-COVID time? I think there was one more question I just saw. You know, the skills basically, see, everything like we have all discussed, now there are hardly jobs coming up, placements won't be coming up for some time. I think the basic skill is coping skills that children need at this time, soft skills, stress management, a lot of things to, you know, deal with. Even my son is young. I tell him that you have to be multiply skilled because you don't know what profession you are going to take at what point of time, because things change at a sudden, you know, blink of your eye. So we need a lot of flexibility. We need our students to be able to cope. Students should be able to manage the stress, handle it, and look at it positively. I think that is what we need now the most.
Yeah, one more point, Sriparna.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know, reaching out to the rural teacher training, I would suggest that the radio is a very good medium. Without reaching to them through vans and physical, you know, government can take this initiative. The radio is in every household. Absolutely. In a rural home, you know, and the TV is definitely available. So I think slowly they should start on these kind of courses meant for these kind of teachers who can be at least empowered to teach the rural schools. We are empowered, okay, we can get opportunities, but we have to think of those also. And I think lies a greater opportunity there, great opportunity, and it will be doing good as well.
Yeah. So thank you all very much. I think
thank you so much.
It was really wonderful having you, all three of you, and we covered the entire gamut, right from preschool to the higher education to skills, etc. And what makes me very excited is end of it, we come with so many opportunities. We've recorded everything. We'll be bringing out a small note on what possibly are the opportunities. I'm sure the panelists who are there, Jyotishman is there, everyone, all of you, would any startup coming to you, you know, they're saying that here is a need. Very specifically, it's coming out that here is a need. So why not try to tap this, understand better, because we have to, instead of many a startup which have come up has been by just looking at something which has happened elsewhere in the rest of the country, or maybe in the Western world, and we've just copied their model. Now I would request startups not to copy, look at local problems, try to come up with local solutions, and that's where you're going to stay. Right. On that note, right. I thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And keeping time. Thank you all for keeping to time. We really feel that it was one discussion. And I'm sure all the viewers have benefited, and definitely all the suggestions that we've come, we will take it forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sriparna. We'll approach IIE for any technology upgradation in school. If we need anything, we will take your help also.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.